guys, how we doing? Welcome to the Esoteric Night of Malta. Let's get going with, we're going to look into Admiral Byrd, and I was going to do a special on Antarctica with a webcam, and I bought a webcam about a few days ago, and I've spent the last 3.5 hours trying to get the settings right without the humming noise. Not happening. So unfortunately it's just going to be the screen and you're not going to see me. But let's get going and have a look at this interview that not many people know about, and we will continue the expose on esoteric knowledge that most of the world knows nothing about.
He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by human beings. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Little America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
What Admiral do you hope to see?
Right guys, so the area he's talking about, yeah, I'm going to be dipping in and out of these videos and just letting you watch them, because I've watched them, and the knowledge is just, the more you learn about Antarctica, like, the more suspicious you get, and the more obvious that they are literally hiding a lot of things down there, from Google Earth Pro to coordinates to alien faces in the snow, the landscape, Nephilim, like giants, reptilians. I mean, I've got sources of some videos exposing massive elongated skulls of Nephilim, probably for another episode, because Antarctica is one of my favourite topics. It's kind of like Pandora's box to me. It's almost more interesting than the Cabal and what's the word, Freemasonry, all that shabazz. So, you know, what way he's talking about, there's an area the size of America undiscovered, and I think it was 1958 the Antarctica Treaty was formed, and that was formed by most of the countries around the world. They all took a piece of Antarctica. A lot of glaciers, lakes, not districts, areas of Antarctica are named after Schwabenland, Neue Schwabenland from Ostdeutschland. Then you got King George V. If you know the story about King George, which I do, that leads you onto a whole reptilian agenda that really had a lot to do with the total hijacking of our reality in a way, which I'll get onto in this episode. So, you know, I've heard that this area he's talking about, I've heard that if you know about Agartha, that's the torus field. If you know about quantum physics, torus fields is pretty much where I think Einstein and Tesla left their science alone because they were told to. Because when you're looking at torus fields, that's pretty much a vortex, a black hole into the Earth. The Earth, I believe, has two torus fields, North Pole, South Pole. And the area he's talking about is apparently 10 miles southeast of the actual South Pole. And it's in the no-fly zone. Why do they have a no-fly zone in Antarctica? Is it to protect is it for emissions? Is it climate change? Is it a green carbon tax because of the people down there? Yeah, right. You know, so the more you learn, I'm gonna teach you, and you're gonna learn a lot of what I've learned, and it's absolutely fascinating. So let's continue with this interview.
Yeah.
Just one more thing, a bit random, but Admiral Byrd, he's got a very elongated skull, and kind of picked up on it a little bit. I don't know what to make of it, but I'll leave it there. But it's yeah, kind of like Lord Jacob Rothschild's Anunnaki.
I do.
Well, Admiral, would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we have to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams. Of course, that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they are safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
So guys, the sound for about almost a minute here gets cut on the actual recording on YouTube. Why was it cut? Because Admiral Byrd is talking about, I think, I've seen this on 2 recordings now, it's cut on both, like it's cut for 50 seconds on this bit, on 2 recordings I've found on the, even on the US Navy archives. And why was it cut? Because Admiral Byrd was given the Medal of Honor and told never to talk about anything he found down there again, although his conscience did want to speak up. And that leads us to James Forrestal, which we'll come to in
Permanent resident, that's
a little bit.
Emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have military importance?
It has some, and as the world shrinks, it will continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration, thus bringing these places closer. And in the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Well, has development of air power increased there, the strategic importance of places like the
very much
Palma
so.
Peninsula, we'll say?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica. Then between there and Cape Horn.
I've heard it said that there are 7 continents in the world, and one of them has never been seen by a woman, and that's Antarctica. Is that actually true?
Well, if the Palma Peninsula is an island, as far as I know, that's true. No woman's ever stepped foot upon the continent, and it's the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, I'm sure that won't last very long. I understand that now that you're working with the Arnold Bread Company in charge of frozen foods now. Is there any future for frozen foods down in these frozen extremities?
Well, I think the human race can be helped by that. This was thought out by Dean Arnold, who's, in my opinion, a great humanitarian. He learned that we went down there after 4 or 5 years and finished a meal that we had left there on the table when we had evacuated Little America. Everything was perfect, including the bread. So he got the idea of this frozen bread, and already he sent some to Europe, and it was very work very well over there for the summer starving people.
So,
So you can store it down in the Antarctic and against the lean years, and you wouldn't have any people in the world really starving if you did that.
so in the event of an atomic war...
It'll stay there forever.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica. What are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
That's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far, the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the world.
well,
It was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence.
Right, so when Admiral Byrd, that's a big clue, okay? When he said it was once tropical, let's play it again.
Well, now by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the world.
well,
It was once tropical.
Boom, okay, right. So if we go back to, let's roll back 7,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. That isn't even a long time in solar terms. So we go back 6,000 years, past the Egyptians, past the Sumerians, past the Maya. We go right back to the Babylonians, Babylonia, Nimrod. And Nimrod is a brother, I think, of Apollo or Zeus from Greek ancient history. And Nimrod, I need to touch on, I need to do a bit more research actually, but he essentially was foreseen to have built the Tower of Babylon. And Babylon, 6,000 years ago, if you look at anthropology, ancient history, which is a hot topic for me, it's very fascinating. A lot of it, once you learn about it, you soon learn that we did not come from monkeys, and Darwinism, as much as Darwin was a great guy, is a pile of trollop, is absolute wish-wash. So there's this part of the box they teach us through education, history, and they're starting to find things in Antarctica, Greenland, all over the world, because ice is melting, because the solar system is warming up, not just the Earth. Anyway, I'll do an episode on that as well. There's some giant, enormous reptilian, dog, husky creatures I've been seeing like crazy. And what they're struggling with is they can't report it because it immediately goes back to beyond their history clock. So it conflicts with their narrative. And we'll move on. But Admiral Byrd touched on it was once tropical. And go back to Babylon, and also the Black Goo AI, artificial intelligence, which I touched on in the Great Awakening map. And I'm going to do an episode on that again. You could actually do 5 or 6 episodes on the Black Goo AI, because there's a theory, okay, and I think I'm signed up to this in a way. So I think 5,700, 6,000 years ago, the destruction of Babylon happened, okay? And apparently the word was that, similar to nowadays almost, there was a civil uprising, the elite were out of control, taking everything for themselves, very, very similar to what's happening on Mother Earth right now, 2020. And the story goes, so Black Goo AI is artificial intelligence. It's apparently been, I predict that it's been around longer than 6,000 years. I think it was probably been around since the creation of the Source, God, the creator of the universe, whatever you want to call it, however you want to see it. But you know, they talk about, so you got dark and light, good versus evil, and humanity, and also ETs, all sorts of beings, we're all made of atoms, and I'm just getting a bit spun off by rabbit holes here. Sorry, it's my mind's taking me off to other things. But essentially, we need fear in our lives, because especially humans, so when a human faces fear, you actually face it, you don't run. And our light shines stronger inside of us, and we need fear because we overcome it, and we produce happiness and joyfulness and courage and bravery, and all these traits are linked to the Creator making a balance. And just to quickly touch on it, we're coming into the age of Aquarius, which is also the golden age, and I believe we're going back to Earth's being kicked up the rear end and say, you're in 5D now, yeah, so just get on with it, wink wink. So my point is, yeah, you know, we're coming into an age of light and happiness, peace, love, everything like that, you know. So it goes back to Babylon. I'm getting a bit digressed, sorry, I've got so much information. But so Babylon, the story goes, there's a civil uprising, and there was a battle between some ETs. I'm not sure what, I did know, but it's a long time ago. I looked at it a few months ago. Problem is, when you learn so much information further back gets a bit backlogged. So there was a big battle up in the skies, and apparently I think it might be reptilians, I'm not sure, some ET race, almost like the Hammer of Thor, they catapulted an asteroid towards Earth, I think working for Black Goo AI, and they say a chunk of the Earth broke off, and when that happened, Earth flipped, did a 180 within a couple of days, and Babylon was at the South Pole, and it almost like freeze dried over very quickly, and everything almost was cryogenically frozen for a very fast time. But then when the ice sheet went over it, they had volcanoes in Babylon, a lot of them, and the geothermal volcanoes are underneath Antarctica. And this is what I think Byrd is giving us a little hint with, because when the Germans went to Antarctica, they apparently live in these geothermal caves, and some of these caves are apparently like a football stadium, big 80,000 football stadium, times that by 10, 20 times. That's one cavern. So crazy, just blows your mind. And let's get back into the video. But he's given us a little hint on what was there, and I think it's true.
So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
Is it a secret? Is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come, and we'll have to go after that stuff then.
Well,
you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctica.
And is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there. The New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and the Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make us sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of of other nations and this nation.
Well, Admiral Byrd, are private expeditions a thing of the past? Is expedition and exploration, making expedition and exploration now purely a government function because of tremendous
No, I
cost and
don't think
organization?
so. I think down south it may be more or less a thing of the past, but not other expeditions that go.
Right. He just mentions, I think down south is off bounds. He's talking about the area that's about the size of the United States. It's actually a bit bigger than that, and it's right in the middle of Antarctica. And imagine that size of a continent. It's, size of North America, if not bigger. Like, people forget about Antarctica, even on the maps currently drawn nowadays. Antarctica, they only show the top little coastline of it. It's hidden. It's like, it's serious. I mean, come on, guys, get with it. It's so blatantly obvious that there's so much stuff down here. There's another video I'm going to show you in a little bit of some chimney stack towers coming out of a ravine crevice, and for me it's blatant.
Oh, there's a lot of them going off now.
This latest expedition now on the way is a government expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government.
Admiral Byrd, may I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau, 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents that are slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded places 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000, and it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world. I don't think the North really isn't very cold up there on the Arctic Ocean.
Compared to those, Admiral Byrd, we often hear it said that our young Americans now aren't as hardy as their forefathers. Do you think that Americans do measure up to the standards, the physical standards and morale standards of the past?
I do. I don't believe that. I think they're just as high.
Well, what would you say was the most valuable factor on an expedition? Is it morale, or physical courage, or is it sheer equipment?
Well, I've always thought that loyalty was by far the most important trait. The British told me that when I first went down in 28, I couldn't possibly get through the winter night without a mutiny if I took more than 20 men. But to serve science, I had to take 42 men. Then I took 56 the next time, and so on. So, and I did find that loyalty was the most important thing during the winter night when it's very hard on your nerves. I think that's right.
That's a very valuable characteristic of any time. Well, thank you very much, Admiral Byrd. It's been a great pleasure to have you here tonight.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
The opinion.
So guys, did you enjoy that? That's one of the oldest pieces of footage. Let's grab my keyboard. I'm really sorry about my squeaky chair. I'm gonna have to oil it or get a new one. And let's go to this thread, okay? Actually, quickly, Operation High Jump. It was actually 1946. Admiral Richard E Byrd led 4,000 military troops from the US. And do you remember, just in that interview, I'm just going to play it again, he said he took 56 people.
2 men. Then I took 56 the next time.
Boom. 56 or 4,000. I believe it was 4,000. There was, I know, so when Byrd went down, I think he had the USS, I had a picture on my profile, Philippines, the USS Philippines, I think it was, and it was an aircraft carrier full of planes and helicopters, and I think there was another one, some frigates, a couple of destroyers, and I think 4 or 6, 8 submarines, I'm not sure how many. And I heard that when they left Argentina or Chile, it was 6 weeks before they got back. And I heard there was a big battle, because when Admiral Byrd when he arrived in Antarctica, he was greeted by, yes, the Germans, and they by this point had met the Draco, and they'd made a deal with the Draco. And by this time, bear in mind, the Germans have already been to the moon, and when they got to the moon, they found company, because I've heard 12 ET races live on the moon. Well, they own land, real estate on the moon, and because I have heard there's a valuable rare mineral, I think it's H3, some sort of mineral, some sort of metal that they need to they use in their technology. I think it's to do with to like building spacecraft. It's like a strengthener for metal or something crazy. Anyway, they got to the moon and they were told to go away in no certain terms. So, go back to the Draco. When Byrd hit Antarctica, let's have a quick look. When he got to Antarctica, he was met by flying saucers and German with Nazi symbols on them. I'm sure this is let's have a look. I'm sure this is the one that went to Antarctica. I'm sure it is, yeah it is. My memory serves me well. This is the one. And I heard that Admiral Byrd has actually had a few trips to Antarctica, not just one. He went in 1933 to 35, and then he went back, I think in the late 30s, and then again in 46. So the US government had a lot of intel about what was down there, and they knew the Germans were building something down there. And that goes back to quickly that Pine Island actually as well, USS Pine Island. Where was it? I bloody lost it. There we go. The Pine Island was also I think it was a destroyer or a frigate that was down there. I think that was one of them was destroyed. I think the Pine Island actually. So they hide a lot of things. Esoteric knowledge. I heard there was a battle, and the Americans literally. I heard there was some British there as well. But they were annihilated by the technology and the weapons that were coming from these flying saucers. And for one, they couldn't even hit the flying saucers with the conventional weapons. And we're going to go into this thread by Absolute Conviction on Twitter. I've got a thread reader app open, so it's more of a story on this. But this photo is fantastic, this one here. This is actually a zoom in, and I think it's been what's the word, analysed, like upgrade, improved on a photo editor. But I have seen that as well, something similar. Fantastic. Antarctica has long intrigued me. It is a topic wrought with mystery. You don't say. There is so much secrecy surrounding it. One can't help but wonder what is really going on down there. What aren't we told? What is hidden down there? Ancient civilizations? That leads me on to Babylon. Stargates? Question mark. An entrance to a hollow earth, Agartha, a portal, question mark. Now, I believe portals are actually way underneath, and there's DUMS and maglev train lines linked from Antarctica to Australia, Hawaii. We know who lives in Hawaii. Hussein. And let's keep going. Admiral Byrd was an admiral in the US Navy, a highly decorated one at that. What he was, they sent him because he won, I think, every battle he was involved in. He was fairly young as well, but I'm not sure whether he was part of a family, part of a papal bloodline family, perhaps. High jump, I've just been over. It was for scientific reasons. I think they went recon. I think they said it was. I wonder how they knew that the Germans were down there as well, because when you go back and look at Hitler and, you know, the Russians and the Americans, they found his body, but it was doctored. The autopsy, the report, the real story goes, they found different set of teeth. It wasn't Hitler. Somebody looked like him, but not Hitler. Trust me. And there's a town in Argentina in the mountains called Bariloche, and it looks like Austria. I've skied in Austria. I used to live in Austria, and it looks like Austria, like a Tyrolean village, with the German Austrian chalets, and yeah, there's a lot of German heritage there, let's say. I'm going to show you some coordinates on Google Earth Pro as well. There's a lot of these good videos. Stuff buried in the snow, the ice sheets, symmetrical mountains. That is that's the name of it. It's a mountain, the pyramid, that Buzz Aldrin points at in his tweet, and that is a huge pyramid. Again, another anomaly. I mean, how's that formed in the Fibonacci sequencing on Earth? Looks artificial to me. Blood snow. That's crazy. I'm going to put some links. Life Science is a really good website, actually. I'll put the links in the comments below so you can all have a look as well. I don't know, I did it in my last episode, but the blood waterfall, they say it comes from a brine lake. If you want to believe that, you can, but I certainly don't. I mean, from what I've heard, there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Draco and reptilians underneath the... Bear in mind, remember, Antarctica is buried by 3 miles of ice. And that's what makes me believe that these volcanoes under there have created these massive geothermal caverns where they are habitable. Quite a rabbit hole. Lots of these skeletons, ribs. Coordinates are interesting, actually. That's another anomaly. I'm not sure what that is. Admiral Byrd was never allowed to talk about high jump. He was given the Medal of Honor. Forrestal was actually, well, he committed suicide apparently. If you want to believe that, you can. I certainly don't. Forrestal, James Forrestal, had his conscience got the better of him, and he was a very honest man, and look, was rambling about aliens on Hollow Earth, and he really wanted to get this out, and apparently he committed suicide. But again, believe that if you want to. I don't. John Kerry, Tom Hanks, Buzz Aldrin, the Pope. They've all been there on certain special dates as well. That island is very interesting as well. Why is it named after them? Anunnaki. This is a massive thread as well. I'm not going to go into everything, but the most relevant, valuable information I will. That touches on the Ark of the Covenant, and they were digging in Mecca 2015, and they were excavating, and a crane collapsed, a massive explosion under the ground, and a crane collapsed, killed quite a few people as well, I think 98 people or something, I think it was. But then a Russian ship docked in Jeddah and was carrying the Ark, and I heard it went to somewhere in Antarctica, I think, or it went off the radar. There's a lot of esoteric, very valuable information on this. This is a fantastic one here. So this where is it? This one. I love this picture. That looks like a tall grey. You know, coincidence? I don't know. For me, no. I mean, it's too many coincidences, guys. That's surreal, almost. Okay, guys. So the face, I personally think, and there's a cavern, a crevice down here as well. These are access points, I predict. Markings. This video is fantastic. I'm going to let us play for a few minutes, and this talks about the buildings that they see shadows of in ravines, crevices, and for me they look too artificial to be natural, so enjoy.
Anyway, without any further delay, Antarctica. Well, looks like I had the right map up here. This is one of the most quizzical places I have ever seen. There are some things you can look at long enough in other parts of the world and do some basic research and understand, oh, that's what this is or that's what that is. There's people putting up maps now of Brazil where they're showing what they believe to be graves being dug. The problem with that story is that Brazil has been exploding as far as population goes for a long time. And they don't have the vast tracts of land to create cemeteries like we do. And I'll just leave that there. We'll talk about that another day. But I wanted to show this real quick because this shadow stuck out to me. You see this perfectly rectangular shadow right here? Well, this thing right here that we're looking directly down on is what's causing it. And when you look straight down into this thing, those look like stacks. Those look like exhaust stacks. Look at the shape of these things across the top of this tower. That absolutely looks like something constructed. And you can see more of them if you look closer. Shapes like this don't occur naturally, and the reason I chose this particular one is I know whatever is casting the shadow looks blurry, but look at this on top. You're telling me that wind, ice, rock, and snow somehow, some way created this perfect shape that looks like some type of an exhaust and you can actually see almost a cloud right here. This looks like some kind of a power generating station. I don't know how you see anything but that here. Let me orient it so that it's straight up and down. There we go. You can literally see the cloud of darkness right here. You can see the stack. You can see the more dense part right here. You see, this has been my allegation. A lot of the things that we find down here aren't direct evidence of something visually. It's what they've forgotten to redact in shadow. Or at this point, part of me believes they don't even care. And the reason I say that is looking at the reaction to the most recent events here. Nobody really did anything. They just kind of did what the government said and took their medicine. But whatever's going on here, this is an intelligence. You will never convince me that these two shapes right here are just, that's what happens when you have snow and ice, and then the wind blows, and then the rocks take a certain shape, and then they take a picture from a certain angle. No way. Nope. Sorry. When you can look straight down the pipes, and you can see perfect.
Right, guys. So it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, this guy's good as well. It kind of inspires me to actually. Well, I have started using Google Earth Pro, but it's so big. Antarctica. It's really, really big, and this guy does well to find these places, but it's strange.
Really straight walls going straight up. I mean,
see that? That's a chimney stack. That looks like a tall building coming out of the ravine, and there's a chimney stack on top. Even that little puff of cloud could be wrong, but that is not natural. That shadow.
this is just about as easy as it gets. I mean, I know it's not.
Look at that one. 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. Natural ones, more diagonal. That looks artificial. Fascinating.
You know, dragons or serpents or anything like that. But this is, you know, it could be some government we don't know about. Russia, China.
Draco, German government, my friend. We, the Allies, yeah. So if you go right back through history, the Allies did not win World War II. We didn't win it. And the old Faulty Towers joke, we won the bloody war, didn't we? No, we didn't, mate. Because Operation Paperclip happened because of the corruption in America already a little bit. Not that that's America's fault, but, well, the infiltration, let's say. And they wanted the scientists and officers from Germany because they were clever and they had technology that America wanted. The dark side, anyway. Werner von Braun he invented the V2, the V1 rocket, and he was the head of NASA for 20-30 years. So, you know, it's crazy. Looked at that. We're going to go down my thread quickly. I'll play this video one more time. I've put it once before, but let's do it one more time. So that's one of my favourite videos, love it. And let's get into the thread I built. This actually is, I think it's the video, the photo of that craft that's wedged in between a crevice. Pretty sure, well, maybe it's not, no, it's a cave. But it's obviously a conspiracy, isn't it? Must be crazy for thinking like this. Wink wink. No, a different one, but it is interesting. The video's not that great, so I'm not going to bother showing you. That's Buzz Aldrin's pyramid mountain. Do you think that's real? I probably don't. Again, so big and it's never talked about. Crazy. He was given the Medal of Honor and he was silenced and never allowed to speak. James Forrestal did want to speak, but he didn't because he was threatened, and well, he obviously was in a bad way and he committed suicide. You know, believe that if you want to believe it. Just trying to navigate my way down this thread. That's not quite right. That's my friend from Canada. Big up Alex. Hope you're watching this. Philippine Sea. It was returned. Half of its planes were missing. That's what I showed you earlier. I think it actually doesn't have a name, this one. It doesn't, yeah. And Nimitz was I think he was an admiral for the German Navy. And he had a lot of, a big area of Antarctica named after him. Why? I'm not sure, but we can dig into that at some point. Bear in mind, Buzz Aldrin was actually airlifted out of Antarctica with injuries for some reason, or he was in a bad way. Not sure why. Let's have a quick click on this.
Next you have an astronaut, literally, and not any other astronaut, but also an astronaut that happens to be a 33-degree Freemason and a military insider. Now ask yourself, with all three of these visits combined, does a picture start to emerge that is something major is happening in Antarctica? Because remember, Buzz isn't just an astronaut. Buzz Aldrin, a 33-degree Freemason, represents another group of people, namely the Eye of Providence. That is the Grand Lodge of Freemasonry. So if you needed a report from someone, that is someone that could confirm that something...
Right, that's not really that relevant, so... I'm trying to find the thread. It's not quite right. Let's have a look. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to find the rest of this thread. If I can't find it, no, right, let's leave that one. It's taking too long.
Reporters alleged that several Nazi U-boats that disappeared from the records had carried top officials including Hitler to the South Pole after the war, and that a more extensive and permanent base existed. If this holds any truth, one possible location for a substantial fortress would have been the 200 square mile ice-free Schermacher Oasis, which the Nazis had first identified from the air, and which supported numerous international stations after the war. Either way, after their 1938-39 New Schwabenland expedition commenced, Admiral Byrd was sent to Antarctica from 39 to 40 on a U.S. government-sponsored mission to establish permanent bases, further exploration, and most assuredly to spy on Nazi efforts there. In turn, news of Nazi bases drove support for building more American bases there. Though modern scholars have tried to downplay the existence of Nazi bases, news reports of the time captured the concern, as this article highlights that, quote, the capture of a secret Nazi hideout proves valuable naval bases can be built in ice fields. It also stated, quote, there, hidden away in some undisclosed quarter of the Antarctic quadrant, a British naval patrol recently found a Nazi naval base. True, it was only of small dimensions, yet it was sufficiently enough equipped to have repaired even the Graf Spee, referring to the notorious Nazi commercial raider that was attacking British commerce ships. A 1942 article asked U.S. naval bases in the Antarctic and began discussing, quote, the possibility of using the Antarctic continent as one of the jumping-off places for the great naval offensive that would wipe Japan's rising sun flag off the face of the southern seas. And it discussed how it would become a pivot from which we could guard and control both the South Atlantic and the South Pacific. Clearly, Antarctica had become an important military position. Admiral Byrd also made this point at the time of his 1940 expedition, saying, as we all know, the Panama Canal may be under attack someday. It may even be destroyed by a hostile power. The Navy has to think of such a possible eventuality. That is why Antarctica looms in strategic value.
The British formalized its efforts to surveil and counter Nazi presence in the Antarctic during World War II under Operation Tabarin, where they sought to establish major Antarctic bases. The name Tabarin references a famous charlatan and street performer from the 17th century who used trickery and guile to hawk snake oil cures and put on provocative acts. The mission sought to utilize any pretext to occupy key Antarctic islands and counter illegitimate Nazi claims in Queen Maud Land. The British saw it as a power play to stave off Axis domination of the southernmost routes, especially between South America's tip and the Upper Peninsula.
Actually, guys, just stop there,
And references a famous charlatan and street performer from the 17th century who used trickery and guile to hawk snake oil cures and put on provocative acts. The mission sought to utilize any pretext to occupy key Antarctic islands and counter illegitimate Nazi claims in Queen Maud Land. The British saw it as a power play to stave off Axis domination of the southernmost routes, especially...
Right, guys. So, the Falkland Islands, I think it was 1982, the year I was born, and I heard that the British, not invasion, but protection, or whatever you want to call it, but it was actually, I've heard theories that Secret Service, or not Secret Service, MI6, it would have been probably MI5, and the British military, there was black goo AI discovered underground, way underground, and it killed a load of Argentinians. I heard, it's only a theory, okay, I'm just reporting what I hear, what I see, and that is way back in the 80s, bear in mind, long time ago, 40 years ago, nearly. And does it have any meaning? I'm not sure, but again, Black Goo AI really fascinates me because it's also what the Draco are infested with Black Goo nanites, and it essentially controls them, and they are subservient to the AI. So just another little rabbit hole. Can't go into it because we're doing Antarctica today, but yeah, let's actually go on to some other stuff because I want to upload this today and time is ticking on. Weird skid mark, no pun intended. South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. Now again, What is that? I mean, it doesn't look natural. It looks like it's landed and skidded, sled, and stopped. Tic-tac craft. Doesn't look natural to me. We will finish with this. Hollow Earth, Agartha. Agartha. I'm not sure what actually the pronunciation of it is. Some people put a... trying to find the spelling of it. It's Argartha, or there's a H after the G, after Arg. But Corey Good talks about this, and there's caverns along. I'll actually read about this. So, the underworld. From time immemorial, people have believed that there is another world lying just beneath the surface of our planet, Hollow Earth. To a number of cultures, the ancient Greeks for one, it is a dark place filled with the souls of the dead, but most of these early beliefs were metaphorical or mythological in origin. Modern science holds that the Earth is an unbroken series of layers, crusts, and liquid magma surrounding a dense, hot core made primarily of iron and nickel. Sounds very scientific. But not everyone is convinced. Blah blah blah. I do actually believe in this because there's so many links, so many rabbit holes about the Hopi, the Mayans, the Aryans, there's what else? The Andalavians, there's alien tech, there's portals, links to the pyramids of Giza, place in Yellowstone. I think there's an access point. I think there's about 6 or 8 or 10 access points to Inner Earth through various places, and you would struggle to find them, not unless you go to South Pole, go 10 miles southeast, and you may see a massive lake. Actually, I'm going to finish with that actually, but this is a picture of a tourist field, and well, not a picture of, but roughly speaking, and it's all to do with energy. 369. Einstein stole a lot of Tesla's work, and Albert Einstein, also worked at a patent office. Don't know if you know that. How convenient. And he had a lot of patents in his name. Fascinating. These are some images, artists' recreations of what they might find down there. And that's it. Let's just have a look at, to finish. There is a lake, okay? They don't want to show it, do they? Yeah, this one. I love all the explanations. All of the propaganda. This thing is massive. Literally massive. And I believe it's the entrance. But again, it initially measured 3,700 square miles. It had grown to 30,000 square miles. You can't even imagine how big that is. And what's the explanation? There's not really an explanation. Not fully understood. And guys, we are going to leave it there, I think. I'm going to sign out with a funny video that we all like. We all like some happiness in our lives. I just got to find it. I've actually got a couple, but I'll show you this one. That's an interesting video on Stonehenge, showing cranes assembling stones. Actually, I will show you this because this is just this was. Let's just show it anyway.
Shit, you guys! I'm driving your car, but I just got a notification that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died! Fuck! Could this year get any fucking worse? Ruth, you just had to make it to 2021! Holy,
Left-wing meltdown.
holy fucking
I might have to cut that out because of the language, actually. Hey ho, learning on YouTube is not the easiest. Actually, let's sign out with this.
Jeffrey, Epstein Island is all over the news!
Don't worry about it. I'm a billionaire.
Oh, man, I'm worm food if Hillary finds out about this!
Trust me, Bill. No one will ever know.
What the hell are we doing on Epstein Island, Nancy? We're not really on the island, Chuck. We're not? No, we just know what's going on and we're getting paid while people suffer. Work smarter, not harder, right? That's always been my philosophy. Why am I choking myself, Bill? Well, if anybody finds out I was on this island, I just want to make sure I got a backup plan. What's your backup plan? That's a secret. Can I stop choking myself now? No, you may not.
Who's ready to get their pedo on? Is this your first time here, Tom?
First time where? Wink, wink.
Oh, I see. Well, are you enjoying your stay so far?
Enjoying my stay where?
What are you up to, Bill?
I'm creating a problem for Earth.
Oh, well, why aren't you out having fun with underage girls?
Are you kidding me? I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world. Wow! Prince Andrew and Tom Hanks? Stop! It's Prince Andrew and Tom Hanks! I have eyes, Nancy! So, Prince Andrew and Tom Hanks, what brings you to Epstein Island?
We're not really here.
Wow! A hologram of Tom Hanks and Prince Andrew! That's classic! I'm always kidding. God, boy, talk about something.
Jenny! What's going on, Jeffrey? We need to practice. Practice for what? If we get in trouble, we need to practice not say anything. You go first. Go first what? Damn it, you weren't supposed to say anything. What? You just can't keep your mouth shut, can you? I mean, have you read my tweets? No, seriously, look at all the tweets I deleted. I belong on this island.
What's wrong, Jeffrey?
I'm having a hard time trusting my madame.
You don't think she'll talk, do you?
I sure hope not.
Well, you better figure it out. If Hillary finds out, I'll even with the fishes.
I deleted 16,000 tweets. I mean, seriously, who does that, right? I'm having a hard time trusting you.
Really, Jeffrey? If there's anyone you can trust, it's me.
You swear you won't say nothing?
I swear, Jeffrey.
Will you cross your heart and hope to die?
Only if you do it first.
60,000 nasty perverted tweets. I deleted them all.
You know, Chuck, honestly, I don't mind being a bitch while other people suffer. Me neither. It's not our problem anyway. Exactly. What happens on Epstein Island stays on Epstein Island. Yep, not our problem.
So how's your problem for Earth going?
Well, I finished that already. Now I'm inventing an expensive solution to Earth's problem.
Being rich is cool, huh?
Yes, indeed.
60,000 tweets. Say it again.
I did not have sexual relations on Epstein Island.
Again.
I did not have sexual...
Bill, you need to be passionate. Like you were when you lied about Monica.
Okay.
Okay.
I did not have sexual relations on Epstein Island.
Oh my gosh, is that little kid doing a splat? Why, yes. Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, I want to put myself in jail.
Can I interest you girls in a microchip vaccine cocktail? Oh, I got a bad feeling Hillary found out about your island. Can I stop choking myself now? Yeah, you can stop. I think Hillary's just gonna pay someone to do it for you. All right. Wait. What?
Thank you very much, guys. Be good, stay positive, be safe, think about what you post on all of social media because the thought police might come for you, and we will tune in on the next episode. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you had a good weekend. Ciao for now.